I am collecting role models like Funko Pops. And if you not, you should be too.
I'll leave you alone, I just want my credit. I vow to tell the truth and never embellish. To my family, I'm forever indebted. To the ones that hold me down, I'm forever indebted.
Welcome to the Wealthy Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Roberto Swift. Life is hard, but God is good. So stick around as we contemplate life and share tools, tips, and ideas that will elevate your mind, body, and spirit.
Let's get into this. So we're talking about role models. And see, role models are like templates. And they come before you, and there's some that come after you. And the ones that come after you, guess what? That makes you the actual role model, because no one is an island. I mean, shoot, you can't even do anything by yourself these days. Everything is relying upon someone else. Your electricity won't be running right if you didn't have someone doing their job. And when it comes to anything else, guess what? You're not alone. And so there's good and bad role models. We all know this, but we don't even talk about the good role models. But in a lot of situations, there's bad role models around us all the time. And so what I am doing, I am collecting role models. I am intentionally picking certain individuals that I want to model myself after, because I know that I'm in one situation and I want to get from A to B. And if I see somebody in front of me that is in the spot that I want to be, guess what? I need to start paying attention. So, I mean, there's so many different areas of life that I would desire to be in and desire to improve and stuff like that. And so that's when you got to go out and find these people and find these individuals. I think where one area a lot of individuals go wrong is thinking that their role model has to be their role model for their entire life. Like, they have to be good at everything. I mean, take Michael Jordan, for instance. Michael Jordan was a great basketball player. He still is today. He still has that competitive edge. If you come up to him and ask him to play you one-on-one, guess what? He'll probably do it. Because he's that competitive. It's in his nature. So imagine Michael Jordan going on and showing you how to cook some vegan pasta lasagna. Now, he's not known for that. I wouldn't bet on him making the best vegan lasagna in the world. I'm not saying he can't cook. That is not what I will model myself after. See, it all boils down to intentionality. And with intentionality, it helps us to be able to determine what it is, because there are good and bad habits. And if you're not paying attention, guess what? Your bad habits will overtake your good ones. There's a specialty to all of this. You know, I think about when I was younger, and I remember when Jay-Z was retiring. And at that time, I didn't switch over and listen to Christian rap and stuff like that. I didn't even know that even existed at the time. But where I was in that point in my life, I was like really into hip hop, and I was really into rap, and I really liked Jay-Z a whole lot. He was my favorite rapper. And I used to rap also. And so, I mean, we'll be in the lunchroom and we'll sit and we'll have rap battles and stuff, because we were young and we were into rap. And one of the lines I said was like, "You wish you could win, but your biggest fan is your pet goldfish." And people will crack up. And then later, they would want to battle later and stuff. And then, so this is around the time that Jay-Z was retiring. And I was like, because he was a role model of mine, because, I wanted to be a rapper. And he switched over and he was like, well, I'm retiring. I'm not rapping anymore. He was focusing on his business. And I was like, business? I like business. And so as your role models begin to shift and make different moves, it makes you pay attention to other things that you otherwise probably wouldn't pay that much attention to. Now, I have always liked business and always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but seeing someone that you admire do those things, it gives you that much juice to be like, yeah, I need to pay more attention to this. And so, like I said, there's also bad role models. There's role models that like parents, for instance, where they may not have been as financially savvy as you would like them to have been, because they didn't teach you certain principles that you feel like you learned later in life. But, I mean, you still love your parents, but they weren't good in that area of their life. And so sometimes when it comes to role models, the very best ones also teach you what not to do. Or should I say the bad ones, You know, you can still learn from them. It's not like, oh, this person sucks, they can't teach me anything. You know, I worked for one employer once, and they were terrible at a lot of different things that they did. But I didn't take it as, well, I can't learn anything from them. I was like, well, this is what I'm not going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. And this is what I will do. So it gives you clarity. You know, sometimes there's many paths that you can walk down in life. But if you know that you don't want A, B, and C, then you know that you need to follow D. So that gives you clarity on, you know, what you can and shouldn't be doing. You know, and so it's a wonderful thing to have role models. And you got to be intentional about picking them. Because you will unconsciously pick, you're going to unconsciously pick someone that's in front of you. See, inside of this life, everyone has an inheritance that they receive, but their legacy is what they leave. And it's kind of like we're in a relay race because you're handing that baton on to the person that's in front of you. You may not even know that you're going to have kids one day, but I guarantee that they're going to look back at your life and say, well, if my dad or my mom did X, Y, and Z, why shouldn't I be able to do X, Y, and Z? And so it's not just about being intentional role model for the people that you see, but there is a whole world of people that you don't see. And so you have to be conscious of it, that not that you're being watched, but you have to be conscious of it that you will leave an impact on this world. Even not having an impact on the world that you think. Like, for instance, my great-great-grandfather, I know nothing about them. Mom or dad's side, know nothing. But that is the model that they left. I know nothing about them. And see, when it comes to situations where you look back over your life and I'm like, man, like, I've learned so much, but how much is it documented? See, we always think about role models a lot of the time of being people that are super close to us. But with technology these days, there is so many different ways to document what's going on in your life. And so then when there's generations that come behind us, they're going to have documentation. They'll be able to see more. They have videos. They're going to have books. They're going to have all types of different ways to get to know you, like really get to know where you were and your mindset in these different areas of your life. And this is not something that always been the case. It was always passed down by oral tradition and by stories and stuff. I mean, you think about biblical times, just take King David. King David wrote Psalms, and his son Solomon had access to those Psalms. And then Solomon, he wrote Proverbs for his son. If you look at it really closely, you'll see that in the very beginning. And so they were passing down values and legacies. And the interesting thing is that we can tell someone 1,000 different things, but it's the stories that we remember. It's because we're able to associate more and we're able to categorize it in our memories. And so it's easy to think that you're not a role model, but I guarantee you are, because you're not alone. This world is full of people, and no one is in the exact same situation that you are in. They don't have the skill set that you have. They don't know everything that you experienced in your life, but you do, and God does. And God has assigned you a special responsibility to share certain aspects of who he is. And so you gotta remember that you gotta think bigger. It's just like, you just gotta think bigger. You just gotta think bigger. A big mistake people make is thinking that no one's immune to failure. Failure is a stepping stone that'll get you to success. And if you spend all your time celebrating your wins and not analyzing your losses, you'll never get to where you want to be in life. It just won't happen, because there is a key, and keys open doors, and small keys open big doors. And when you're able to find a key to something and figure out what door it's going to open up, you open up opportunities. What better gift is there than to save somebody some time? And that's essentially what role models do. I mean, they save you time. They're essentially a template for you to take and mold into any way that you can. One of Robert Kiyosaki's big things is that he always talks about real teachers and fake teachers. And fake teachers are the teachers that say that they'll teach you something, but they never done it themselves. Or they're not practicing in the area in which they're teaching. But the real teachers are the ones that actually model how to do X, Y, and Z. See, there's some things you can only learn by experience. See, I feel sorry for the person who thinks they know every single thing, because they will miss out on the opportunity to find out what they don't know. It's really tough to get the support that you need when you're doing something on your own, and for people to really understand why it is you feel the way that you feel. And the great things about role models who are real teachers is that they've been where you are and they understand that. And so they're able to provide insights into giving you actual encouragement when you actually need it, where you need it. Because they can relate to you. They can relate to you. Some of the best role models, they give you a taste of what's to come. And that provides encouragement for you on your journey, because you're not going to turn out exactly the way you see someone else's life turns out, and even if it's in a certain area, but it gives you the parameters to navigate. And you think about all of the successful people who are, let's take Kevin Hart for instance. He calls himself a student of comedy, and he goes back and he actually studied all of these different comedians that came before him to help him master his craft. And so when it comes to trying to attain mastery on something, it does you great deal of service to study people that are ahead of you and have become experts. And even someone like, and so you have like Kevin Hart in comedy, but even in acting or even in music, you take Usher, for example. He studied Michael Jackson, and he studied a lot of others. You know what a missionary is? A missionary goes into an area and he tries to save them from something. What are you trying to save people from? No, you can't save people from their sins. That's Jesus' job. Only Jesus can do that. Only he has the authority to do that. You can assist, but you can't actually do it. But there's people behind you and there's people in front of you. And it's an honor to serve the people that are behind you. And it's a joy to watch the people that are in front of you. And so when you want to become successful at any particular thing, you definitely want to start stacking role models in those particular areas. They might have fell off in one area, like they may be the greatest tennis player in the world, but they may suck in another area of their life. But you just want to focus on the area in which you're looking at, because that is what you need to get you ahead, to save yourself time and energy. There's no reason to try to reinvent the wheel, as they say, when that's already been created for you. Now, it's important to gain understanding in that area, but there's no reason to do everything from scratch. There's books. The great thing about books is that there's so much, someone can take 30 years worth of knowledge and experience and compact it for you in story form and compact it for you, and you're able to take that and soak that in. Versus learning something that would take you 30 years, 40 years, when you start accumulating all these different things. It's a shame when we take people for granted and then we want to remember them after they're gone. But the reality is that the model that they set before you is still there. And so when you pay attention to it, then it gives you encouragement and it gives you the necessary resemblance that you need. You know, we can talk all day long about how other people see you, but the main thing that affects you the most is how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a bad role model? And if you do, why? Or do you see yourself as a good role model? And if you do, what's stopping you from becoming a great role model? We've been blessed by being touched by other people's lives. Great leaders know how to follow because they understand that they don't know everything. And so if you want to be good and you want to be great, then you have to learn how to follow. But you got to know how to be different when it's necessary in time. See, everybody want to be a leader, but when it's time to actually lead, nobody want to do the actual work that's involved. And so the difference is that the role model that you see, they have actually done the work because their fruit has been produced. But if you don't actually do the work, you can't produce the result. The role model will only give you the map, but just because you have the map, you still got to actually walk it out. And that makes me think of how a lot of times we put limitations on ourselves. And so in the next episode, we're going to talk about limitations, and we're going to talk about how I almost lost my cookies when I came home from the grocery store. I will explain that on the next episode, and I will see you then. Thank you for listening to the Wealthy Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Roberto Swift, and I am out.